Hi, my name is Brian Lim, and I'm here at a hobby shop. It's called RC Victory World. And as you all know, I'm a photographer and a videographer, and I am really curious as to how I can actually enhance my photo and video work with RC, or remote controlled vehicles, or aircraft vehicles. So stay tuned, and we'll know more about it. So here we are at RC Victory World, and I'm with Romson Veles, and he will share us more information about how we can get into the RC world in terms of photography and video work that we are all doing. So, hi Romson, maybe you can tell us more about what you do and tips and insights on RC and how it can help us photographers and videographers.
Okay, well, to begin with, I'd just like to give you a quick backtrack on what we're talking about. It's just a short backtrack. You have to understand that there's basically, as I explained earlier, was that there's three levels of RC. There's the consumer level, there's the professional level,
Right.
and then finally there's the military level.
Right.
Okay, so let's not confuse ourselves with those things first. We're actually on the professional level, as I was explaining, which is the middle part of the equation.
Right.
And because of that reason, we deal strongly with toys that deal with the big boys.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, when it comes to frequency, we need to make sure that we understand each other on that part. What does that mean? Well, sometimes a lot of people get confused with the frequency, meaning that, well, what's this, what's that? The ones that you find on toy stores, and which is the most common questions that we get, is the fact that on a toy store, you either get an infrared, which is really light source, and has a very limited range.
Right.
Okay. By 30 feet, you can't even get it anymore. In bright sunlight, you might not even get a frequency out of it, okay, because the light actually affects that thing. Now, the second point behind it is that there's also the AM/FM, which the old radio frequency of RC used to work on those aspects. And then finally, there's the 2.4, which is actually what we use.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. Now, the Wi-Fi is used in every home today for internet purposes, but also it's also used in RC. Okay, I know you might be thinking that. Well, would that affect the thing?
Right.
Right. Well, the thing about Wi-Fi today is that it is quite different. It actually has something called hopping frequency. The professional level works on a hopping frequency. What does that mean? It means that every second, it's actually recalibrating. It's hopping from one frequency to another. It's recalibrating with the receiver consistently. So that way, it can still function despite the fact that there's so many other frequencies running around.
And thereby working hand in hand with the Wi-Fi signals that we have at home.
Exactly. So that's why it's not an issue. Because, let's face it, anywhere you go today, there's Wi-Fi signals everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. But yet, how come this professional level, is able to work with that? That's the key difference. Okay, it's able to still hold on its own despite the fact that there's so many frequencies running around.
This technology, or this hopping technology, is present among the professional products, but not present in these toys that we buy from the department stores?
They do have some, but it's not as highly configured.
Okay.
Because if the small toys don't have it, then obviously they wouldn't be able to function as soon as a Wi-Fi function is on. Like, for example, if you go to a mall and you demo that thing, it wouldn't work. Okay?
Right.
But the professional level is the security. That's the key point. The ability to make sure the lock-on is much stronger.
Right.
And the frequency power, is able to emit a higher level of frequency power out of it.
I'm really curious as to how one can actually, like me, for instance, I want to get into this aerial photography video thing, and I'm not sure. I've seen friends, they've done it. I've seen videos in YouTube where people fly their thing with small action cameras. Can you share some insights or tips, recommendations, and how one can start?
Okay, actually very, very simple. A lot of people have talked about this already.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are confused, But the interesting part is this, is that there's been a big change in the RC business recently, simply because of these quadcopters that we're talking about.
Quadcopters.
Yeah, quadcopters, multi-rotor copters. Those are the names that we're coming up with.
Right.
But in RC, I know that a lot of videographers are getting into this simply because it is now accessible, whereas before it was not so accessible in the past. To give you an example, to begin with, RC revolves around the transmitter.
Okay.
This is the transmitter. This is how it looks like. Now, this is one model of transmitter. We have many different models of transmitter in different price ranges.
Right.
Okay. But this is the mid-range.
Right.
And we always recommend this because this is, you can say it's the best of all values. Okay. One of the things we always advise people is that do not scrimp on your transmitter because this is the core product.
Right.
Okay. Being the core product, for example, I think on cameras, there are some core products.
For instance, for us, lens would be one of the most important things that we invest in.
Okay.
Because camera bodies, they come and go.
Oh, okay.
But the optics, they are the ones that actually make the difference.
Okay. So if that's the case, then this is the part about that whole thing. Okay. Because if you get a cheap transmitter, first of all, the signal quality is not secure. Secondly, is they don't last very long. And thirdly, is that, of course, at the end of the day, okay, you might have to upgrade again. But with a good one, at least you stick with just one.
Okay.
So you don't have to keep changing. This one has up to about 30 memories or so that means you can have up to about 30 different contraptions.
Wow. So with just one transmitter, you can actually control up to 30 different aircraft, whatever that is necessary for this.
Wow. This comes with a receiver.
Okay.
And the receiver looks pretty much like this. So this one is in communication with this. This is attached to the actual contraption.
Right.
And this is what you hold. I always like to tell people that this is, if you're flying a plane, this is basically your cockpit. So why would you ever want to scrimp on your cockpit?
No way.
I mean, your life depends on it, basically.
Right.
In a way, right?
Yeah, you don't want to spend so much more on broken propellers, I guess. Or parts.
Parts are parts, but at the same time, if this thing fails, everything fails. It's as simple as that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So this is the part that you have the best investment on. So once you have the best investment on this, then you can start talking about all the other contraptions that go with that. Okay. For example, we have something called an hexa.
Okay, that's 6.
6, exactly. Now, most people who like to have the ability to carry something that's heavier would use a hexa. But we also have other options. The most common option is the quad.
Okay.
Now, to give you an example of how it actually works, let me just explain. Okay, it has basic parts. It's got 4 arms, that's why it's called a quad.
Okay.
4. And then it's got a propeller right there. And then it's got a brain on the inside.
A brain?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's called the flight control.
Flight control. So this brain actually controls all these 4 propellers.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, the leveling of the whole thing, the way it flies. Okay. And you even have the option of a GPS. Now, here's a light source that gives you signals on what's going on with this thing. It's just
like an
way
indicator.
Indicator. Okay. And here's a smaller receiver. Okay. Just an example. It's a smaller receiver. So when you put it all together, this thing flies by using this.
Okay.
The only thing missing here is the battery.
Oh, I can even see a camera here that's mounted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've already mounted a camera. This is an action camera. It can be any brand whatsoever.
Okay.
But once you mount it on, then there you go. Ready to go. Okay. So when you fly, this is already taking the shot.
Right.
Okay. So once you start taking the shot from here, then you can fly it wherever you want to go.
Right.
And there you go. The battery gives you about a life of about, depending on what size the battery is, between 5 minutes to about 10 minutes worth of flight.
Okay.
Which is actually quite a lot.
Right.
Don't you agree?
Right.
So when you put it all together, it's as simple as that. We have other options. And that is, as I was saying, the hexa, which can lift much more heavier weights. And for that, we add in the landing gear.
These are like sleds.
Yeah, they look like sleds, in a way they are, but basically they're there and they're big because you want to have the camera here.
Right.
This one, unlike the one that you saw, allows you to do a couple more things. It allows you to tilt and then pan. Okay, and the beauty of it is that
so all of these tilting and panning are actually controlled via the transmitter that you have?
Tilting and panning, believe it or not, can be controlled and, two things. One is that it's controlled by the transmitter, but at the same time, the flight control also has a gyro built in. So what does that mean? It means that as you fly and you tilt this way, it will counter tilt with you to keep a certain angle that is always constant.
So you're always aligned to your horizon, so to speak.
Not 100%, but close.
Wow, and this is the one, the brain, that's the one
Do that already.
that's adjusting, calibrating it constantly in relation to the movement of the craft.
Exactly.
Wow.
So if you're at a 30-degree angle, at least your shot is not 30-degree angle.
right.
Okay,
You don't
so,
wanna...
yeah, I mean, as the thing tilts this way, at least your camera is still maintaining itself. As you tilt this way, the camera still tilts this way.
Offsetting it to the right
and when you go back,
axis.
it holds itself.
Wow.
And then when you do this, it handles.
Do we have that kind of a technology like a decade ago, or this is a new technology that we have?
This is only about a year and a half old.
Wow.
It's very, very new. It's nothing, so that's what makes it really, really
exciting.
interesting. Yeah. It's quite exciting, So that's the other part. The best part is this, the GPS.
Okay.
Okay. Now, remember what I was saying, okay? That we have the motor here. We have the ESC, which is the electronic speed control, which controls this part, giving it the right amount of speed in terms of the prop. Let's not forget about the prop. Here's the propeller, so you install it on these ones right here. Okay, and then the best part is the GPS.
Okay.
This GPS works in conjunction with this. So when you plug this thing in and you're ready to go, you can fly it up to a certain level in the air, and while it's there, you can click a switch from the transmitter right here in the back, and once you click that switch, it'll hold in the air within 2 square meter radius.
So the brain is actually telling the GPS to adjust, or the GPS is actually providing the information to the brain so that the brain can control these propellers to maintain their location.
Altitude and location.
Even altitude, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I mean, altitude give and take about 5 feet.
Right.
Because the wind factors that hit it type of thing.
Right.
But, and plus the fact that the barometric is not 100% accurate.
That's true. That's true.
But it's able to hold within that level.
So for us photographers or videographers, if it makes everything so easy.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
For example, you need to take a shot of a particular location.
Right.
Okay. And if you're flying this, of course, you're busy flying it.
Yes.
So you have no time to take the shot. But here, you can simply fly it up to a particular location that you know is giving you a good shot.
Then flick that switch, GPS
Flick that
switch.
Then now you can begin to control this part right here, whether you
Wow.
want to pan, tilt, turn.
From the transmitter.
From the transmitter.
Wow.
So everything is there. You see, the merger between the two is not that we actually took anything away from we didn't take anything away from photography. Photography still stays the same. Okay, I mean, you're capturing light.
Right.
But we just have a device that actually takes you to places where you can't go. Okay, so with something like this, for example, a large portion of the people are actually using this for commercial purposes now. Simple commercial purposes. What do I mean? Well, for example, TV commercials now, some of them are using some of these things.
Okay.
Some of the very famous TV commercial recently where they showed plates lined up, about over 1,000 plates. They use one of these things to just zoom across and then fly across. Before, in the past, what they had to do was they had to use a crane, and then they had to use tracks, and they had to dolly across, and that was really, really tough if you think about it. I mean, how long does it take to put tracks down and then put the dolly and then put the crane? And you're limited in height.
Right.
Now, the guy comes up with 5 minutes of setup, flies it up, and then all the plates were lined up, so they just zoom and then just fly across that way.
Wow.
And they're done. The shot is done. In 10, 15 minutes, the shot was done. Many other applications are being used.
Of course, if you're doing aerial photography with these contraptions, we don't have to rent helicopters. I mean, it basically reduces everything to a much, much lower cost, and it makes it more competitive in terms of offering new services to our clients.
Well, I'll give you an example.
Instead of,
a large portion of people are using this for wedding. Okay. So now, I mean, look at this. It's not very big. It's really small.
Right.
Okay. Nothing special. Okay. But if you think about it for a second, if you ever watch a wedding photography, most of them are shot from a first-person point of view. So in other words, this, the mother crying, the bride's doing this, and then when they come out, how do you call this? When they come out of the church, then they all try and zoom in and then pan out, but all on the ground. But today, what if you could have a wedding photography whereby before the bride comes to the church, okay, you can actually film the church from the top down to see a perspective of how the whole place looks like. And then as the car comes in, you can even see the car pulling into the driveway from the top shot.
Right.
Okay. As the bride comes out and then enters the church, you can have all this from a top shot.
Wow. It can
Okay.
probably come down and do a sweeping motion of.
A sweeping motion, close in, and then pull out again. Okay, all without seamless.
Right.
That's the first point. The second point is very often when typical wedding shots, especially
Right.
Hollywood scenes.
Yeah.
Okay, the best about Hollywood is the fact that they have all the cranes and all the dollies. So when they do this, they can always have, like, as they come out of the church door, they'll zoom in and then they'll zoom up.
People throwing the confettis and everything. So
Exactly.
you can actually zoom up
Yeah, and zoom up and pull out.
and create that wide establishing shot.
Exactly. Well, normal, common people can't do that because it's too expensive to do that. But now you can. All you just have to do is fly, hold, hover as they come out of the door, and then zoom out. There you go. And then as they get into the car, you can even shoot them, drive away.
Or you can even follow the car.
You can even follow the car.
Wow.
You know, not too far, of course, but
The possibilities.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, the possibilities.
So these are simple examples. On top of that, in the past, you need to use a helicopter to do certain shots for real estate
Right,
surveys
right,
and all these
right.
wonderful things like that. Or you might have to bring a crane or whatever.
Or even sometimes we can't even use the helicopters for, let's say, if you're shooting in a very urbanized area.
Mhm.
But I can just imagine with these quadcopters or hexacopters, you can do those kinds of things.
Mhm. Well, here's a very simple example. Right now, you want to take a good 360 view of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally, you would need a helicopter to come in and then you do a 360.
Yeah.
Now, all you have to do is stand on the tallest building inside the city and then fly 30 feet above it or about 40 feet above it and do a 360 and you're done.
Wow.
You know, so how simple is that?
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So you can begin to see where and what the applications are for. I mean, the other applications you could use it for is like reconnaissance. Okay. Let's say, for example, there's a hill that you need to look over, or there's a wall that you need to look over for safety purposes or whatsoever. Construction companies, if they need to inspect certain sides of the building,
Right.
okay, they don't have to bring a man there. You just simply fly this on the side, and there you go. You can see it already.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so all these applications are in place by having a small little gadget like this, and therefore it takes the idea of photography a few steps further,
Right.
because now, once your hand can't reach, now your hand can reach. That's the whole analogy behind it.
So if you guys have any comments, questions, or feedback, feel free to write below. And Romson and we'll be very happy to answer all your questions. Thank you for watching Synergy Media. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Synergy Media would like to thank Romson Bellis of RC Victory World, Xfinity Lighting and Support Systems, and Crystal Audio for the Rode microphones.